do we really have to live with the UN as it is, with the international community, with the organs of international diplomacy, functioning in this way and lacking a moral compass? What levers would this administration, if it came to its senses, or a successor administration, have to change it?
Yeah, we've laid this out extensively. We published a blueprint for a better way of approaching international organizations a couple of years ago, and I've done several op-eds you can find online on this point. Number one, I've actually evolved myself, where I always hesitated to fully endorse this point, but since October 7th, I think there is no way around this anymore. We should cut off all funding to the regular budget of the United Nations. There is no reason for us to be providing nearly $1 billion to the UN's regular budget. That should go away. We should stop making that. That is the money that is being used to lower the flag to half-mast for Ibrahim Raisi. That should not be allowed anymore. You then take a look at all the other organizations that are UN affiliates, the specialized organizations and others, and we make evaluations of their utility. Are they serving their intended purpose, their stated goal, or have they been taken over by authoritarians, by terrorist actors or their sponsors or their allies? Are they working to undermine the United States and our allies or advance our interests? Is there an ability for us to use our influence there based on its governance structure, how it holds elections or if it holds elections, who does the electing, who serves on the board? Can you get into a position to influence who's going to be the director general? Does our money actually work there, or is it just throwing it down a toilet for China, Russia, North Korea, Iran, Hamas, others to use against us? And then we say, okay, that's how it's going to be. Voluntary contributions going forward. We make the decision if this is a return on investment that's positive for the American taxpayer. We condition our assistance on clear value-based decisions like you can't use our money to engage in financing terrorism. You can't use our money to engage in anti-Semitism. You can't use our money for XYZ criteria. You can't exclude our allies like Taiwan from at least being an observer in these organizations. Oh, you don't want our money? Fine. You don't need our money. That's great. We don't do any of this right now. The Trump administration had started that sort of thinking. You think about UNRWA, you think about the UN Human Rights Council, you think about the World Health Organization, how the Trump administration laid out criteria for reform. There was a failure to meet those criteria, and we picked up sticks and left. And we said, well, we're not funding this anymore until we have a serious conversation about overwhelming fundamental reforms. And here's how. Now, by the way, had we stayed with certain driving towards not funding these organizations and demanding reforms, and then working with allies who were like, well, we don't want to carry the burden. The U.S. is a quarter of the budget for most of these organizations. We don't want to have to carry that burden. So, let's talk to the U.S. about how we can meet their concerns. That's how you gain leverage. That's how you make change. And there may be organizations like the UN Human Rights Council you can never change. It's rigged. They elect from the General Assembly, secret ballots. Human rights abusers are allowed to be elected and sit there. It's never going to change. We don't have any control once you're inside. It's all up to the majority of the Human Rights Council. But a place like the World Health Organization that relies on our funding, organizations that can peter out if we and our allies start cutting them off and squeezing them, we absolutely can use our influence. So that's why I think this needs to be a complete reset, a complete redesign of how we talk about international organizations, how we approach them, how we view value and utility. And it doesn't have to be something that is antithetical to multilateralism. I know that's the watchword for the Biden administration, the Obama administration before them. They're averse to these ideas of America first and actually looking at our sovereignty and our interests first. This is about democracy. This is about ensuring that our way of life actually continues, that we win a Cold War against China, that we don't allow authoritarians like Putin to get away with invading sovereign countries in Europe. This is about standing up to regimes like Iran and North Korea. All of this is put together in when you start looking under the hood inside the UN and their organizations, how all of those regimes are taking advantage of that system that we're paying for. It has to stop.